Hey, what's up, guys? It's Jordan with the Laundromat Resource Podcast. This is show 88, and I am pumped, not just because it's show 88, 2 8s, man. That just feels like, yes. I don't know, something special about 2 8s. Turn them on their sides and it's 2 infinities. Oh my goodness. But also because we have Chuck Post of PBI Laundry Consultants here on the podcast with us today. And it's this episode is like Chuck just comes with his many years of experience in this industry with like a basket full of knowledge and wisdom. And he just kind of like turns it. My light just went out. He just kind of like turns it over and dumps it all out in front of us here. And it is incredible. In fact, whenever I have a podcast guest on, I am like taking notes as we go through, writing down the smart things they have to say and the things that I need to, remember and learn from them. And I try to write down quotable quotes when they say them. And I'm pretty sure Chuck is holding the record now for the most quotes written down. I think I wrote down like 10 or 12 quotes from Chuck just from this one episode. So much good stuff. There's a lot of like little nuggets in there. And then there's a ton of just huge, like conceptual things that he just kind of gives to us here. So you're going to get a ton out of this, whether you are new to the industry or you've been in this industry a long time. Chuck's got something for everybody. So super good episode. Real quick before we jump into it with Chuck, huge welcome to everybody, all the new members that have been joining, both pro and free members over there at laundromatresource.com. The community is just, I get so fired up about this community. It's growing by leaps and bounds every single day, which honestly, I don't care that much about how quickly it grows. But what I care about is the quality of that community. And is that community, are we helping each other level up? Right. And I've been saying this from day one. We are all better when we're working together, when we're helping each other out. And man, I believe it and I see it happening. And that's really what jazzes me up. So welcome to all you newbies to Laundromat Resource over there. If you haven't joined yet, laundromatresource.com/join. And man, yeah, dude, just welcome. All right. Another thing that I'm brand new, I'm trying out. I'm calling it the fast lane. And the fast lane is just, a quick little tip or piece of advice on how to use Laundromat Resource to help you accomplish your next goal. And as Laundromat Resource has continued to grow, there's a lot of stuff on there now. We've got, a lot of information, a lot of different ways to digest the information, a lot of different options on different things. And it can get a little overwhelming now as it's grown to a little bit of a miniature behemoth there. So Fastlane is going to give you real quick. I mean, quicker than this normally. This is my lengthy explanation. Real quick, just piece of advice on how to best leverage Laundromat Resource to help you get to whatever the next level is for you, buying your first laundromat, optimizing your laundromat, or scaling your laundry business. All right. So today's fast lane, I just want to point to, I'm not sure if I've ever brought this up before, but we have a bunch of free guides that you can download at laundromatresource.com/laundromat-guides. And that link again, and all the links from this episode will be on the show notes page, laundromatresource.com/show88. Or if you're on YouTube, it'll all be down below. Make sure you subscribe and all that. Wherever you're listening or watching, consuming this, subscribe and give us a rating and all that stuff. Okay. Anyways, Laundromat guides. We've got guides on, laundromat due diligence, how to buy a laundromat, how to get a free laundromat, how to finance a laundromat, how to sell your laundromat. We've got all kinds of free guides there. So go check those out. Utilize those to help you get to the next level of your business. Cool. That was a relatively lengthy fast lane, but I will get better and faster. I know that's the thing that I get criticized the most for. And now I'm still going. Okay. Anyways, last thing I want to say before we jump into it with Chuck is that this episode was so good that I think a lot of you guys, especially you newbies, but even if you're looking to scale your business, maybe add on some new locations, Chuck and I, and possibly his partner, Chris Mason from PBI Laundry Consultants, are going to do a webinar on March 24th at 4 p.m. Pacific, Best Coast time, 7 p.m. Eastern on due diligence. We're going to be talking about due diligence. And again, that's relevant for if you're buying your first one. It's also relevant if you're buying, your next one, because Chuck knows his stuff. Chuck and Chris both, they know their stuff really well. That's a free live webinar. There'll be some question and answer stuff. You can find out information on that on the homepage of the website if you're listening to this when this is coming out, or you can go to laundromatresource.com/events, where all of our events, online, offline, webinars, all that stuff will be located. All right. So come join us for that webinar. It's going to be really, really good, super informative, and you'll be convinced of that by the end of this thing. All right, let's jump into it with Chuck Post from PBI Laundry Consultants. Oh, Chuck, how are you doing, man? Thanks for coming on the show.
Jordan, great. Good to be here. I've been looking forward to it for a while.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've known you for a little bit, and I am super excited when you said you'd come on the show. And so I am looking forward to a great conversation here. I know you've got a lot of experience in this business, and you got a lot of wisdom to share. And in fact, I'm anticipating having to rein you in a little bit because I know you have way more to share than we could possibly cover, in one podcast, which is why we're going to do the webinar later. Mm-hmm. So let's start from the beginning, though. Maybe not the beginning, like the beginning of time, but let's start from who are you? And give us like a 30,000 foot overview of you, if that's even possible. And then I want to get into, how did you get into this industry?
Okay. Well, I've been in the business now 37 years. I joined in late 84 actually, but started working in 85 and, developed new laundries primarily at that time because selling equipment was kind of a rough road to pull. I realized that very quickly is that current laundry owners weren't interested too much in buying equipment. And back then, of course, we're talking, 40 top loaders and 4 20-pounders.
Right.
50-pound single dryers, so.
Now I'm trying to give away my top loaders. Like somebody.
Yeah, really. Yeah. Well, I like top loaders in the laundry myself. Oh, we can get into that. No, but not in proportion. I might, in a 32 laundry store, I might have 2 or 4 top loaders because I'm a traditionalist, and a lot of people like them still. And quite frankly, you lift the lid and get in there like the old-fashioned ways. And if you have some dirty clothes and stuff, and really feel like you're part of the wash, there are a percentage of people, but I charge for it. I charge the 20-pounders 25% less or so than I do for the top loader.
Yeah,
that keeps the turns in check. But it makes it available for the people that want it, and it's appreciated. And I find that, after we've adjusted everything and all is equal, that the turns are almost identical between the 20s and the tops. So, I do like top loaders. They do have their place, but not as a major part of the store. Just as a minor part of the store.
Love it. Okay, so I can already tell. Well, we're going to get to the weeds real fast, but go back up.
Sorry about that.
Airplane.
So anyway, I'll start at the beginning. I was in the bicycle business, and I was in the business 11 years. I imported bikes. I brought in the first imported, general factory mountain bike into the country. I started back in the lightweight 10-speed business, and I was working with Japan and Taiwan and Europe, and it was an amazing experience. But it had seen its course for me. I'd been through a couple different companies and a couple different product lines, and I designed the bikes that we put out at that time. We had 32 models of bikes, and I'd figure out the orders and did a lot of analysis. So I learned an awful lot back at that time. But we were owned by Renault, and it was closing or creating a lot of problems. And I wanted to kind of move on. So I was running around, and I was thinking about being a business broker. It seemed absolutely natural to me because I relate well with people in business. I'm a problem solver, And so I was at one of my shops in San Francisco, and a guy comes in. His name was Chuck as well, Chuck Beard, wonderful guy. And he was buying a bike. He was a bikie, and I sat around. We talked for a lot and stuff, and he was telling me about his business, and I just fell in love with the idea. finding locations to put laundries in and rebuilding laundries and stuff like that. It sounded like a dream, and it was right up my alley. So I kept after him. He didn't think I was serious for a long time, but I kept after him, and then finally he put me on. And I took Sacramento and the Valley areas up into Reno, and a pretty big spread of area, and started out just going to one laundry after the other. Several laundries every day, and that's what I still do. Every time I'm out, I travel the country. You know that, Jordan. Your listeners don't, but I live and work out of an RV bus. And I spend the winters in California, but the summers I travel different parts of the country. I've visited good laundries and bad laundries in 48 states. And you learn a lot. You learn a lot about what they're doing and how they vend and what their challenges are, and the differences in the costs and things like this are really vary all across the country. But there's still that norm, But anyway, I was excited. And I started working, and I got things figured out pretty quick. And I started building, 4 or 5 stores a year, which is a pretty good number. And in fact, I in Davis, California, in 1987, I believe it was. It could have been 88, but I think it was 87. I developed the first coinless laundry in California, and it was just basically a computer system with everything tied in. You go to the counter, you'd pay, and they'd turn it on, and it was kind of incredible. It was really a pretty terrific story. In fact, it turned just recently. After all this time, it was retooled a while back, and it's ready for a retool now if it's not underway. So, it just and that's the way it is. So I really started out prematurely building stores. I hadn't really known the business, but I had good guidance. The Wascomat guy that worked with me at that time was knowledgeable, and he helped me put the models together. And we started putting in more front loaders at that time. So when we started really using front loaders, already popular on the East Coast, but new here, and it was real hard to convince people. The big water savings was good. But it wasn't. It is now. We were using 3.5 gallons per pound of wash back then, and it was, so it's about equal, maybe a little bit better than top loaders is all. So there wasn't that advantage so much, but space wise and everything else. And so it was an interesting career right from the beginning. And when I started focusing more on retooling stores and brokering stores, is when I really started to learn things. Going in and finding the mistakes and figuring out how to change them, and that's my character. Find a thing and make it better. That's it. Just isn't that the way it is or should be anyway? We're here to make an impression, to share ideas and things like this. And this has been a great experience because I've made a lot of money for a lot of people. A lot of families have prospered through my work, and that's probably the most meaningful thing at this stage of my career to me is how much help I've been, and at least try to be, with every client. But anyway, I continued. I've built and rebuilt stores left and right, and brokered stores, and trained other people, but I still wasn't in the operations probably until I was into the business for about 6 or 7 years. And when I really started to focus on the operations, I understood the consumer, the user of the washes, which is a great benefit, but at the same time, the elements of value themselves, but breaking them down and understanding how each one plays and how important it is to line them up and things like this. It takes time to understand that. And it was 5 to 10 years before I really fully understood it. And of course, I was a busy man. I was running a company in San Diego. I had 20 employees. We were doing OPL, which is, the on-premise laundry systems, hotels and motels. We owned 60% of that market in San Diego in the under 125 rooms. And then laundries. And of course, laundry was my primary focus because it was most interesting to me. And we did very, very well. With the collapse of 2009 and other issues with personnel and stuff, we made the decision to close it. I guess the ultimate decision came because we weren't getting paid for the selling and repairing.
Close down a business real fast.
Yeah, it does. Excuse me one second. But anyway, so as time went on, when the collapse, the financial collapse came about, Chris and I, he's my son-in-law, been with me for 17 years. He's no neophyte. He's a master consultant. And he and I decided to go this direction. A lot of people were being hurt. People were losing these investments, that they'd made. And it was heartbreaking. You don't know this business until you've had to sit there with people who are damaged and try to get them out of it, and that's one thing I pride myself on. I'm a problem solver. I'm very good at seeing the path towards things. And that's one of my gifts and that I was given to share. And I use it, and I look for those paths and I get them to the best position they can be. And in the stream of that, I'm usually making someone else prosperous to boot, because we're bringing in somebody that's starting with this challenge with a path of their own that these people were no longer in a position to explore. Mm-hmm. So, if I can go off a little bit, that's really the whole thing about this business. I know we're going to talk about the book in a little bit, but in the book, I named it The American Dream Business and an Entrepreneur's Nightmare. Playground. It can be an entrepreneur's nightmare.
It was for me early on, man.
I heard that. Yeah, it can be. But it should be really the most fun and pleasurable thing you can do, and it is for us. I mean, we enjoy it, but putting a laundry together is a lot of work, and you have to line everything up just right. But the beauty is that the opportunity is so big right now, and we're going to get more into that too. And I'm anxious because what I see going forward is amazing, and it's being proven, and it's something I've been looking forward to forever. You know how long it took us to get something other than a quarter, to be able to use something other than a quarter. I mean, even a dollar coin. I tried to get world drops on there, which had a quarter and a dollar slot for years. And I kept getting promises and promises. They never did it. One of the best things that have happened since the stack dryer. Just think where we'd be without the stack dryer today. We'd have stores. We wouldn't be able to compete in the marketplace, actually.
Yeah.
Not doubling our prices or increasing them considerably because it limits the amount of machines you can do. So these advances have been wonderful. And the opportunities that we're leading into now are much greater. And that's not just because of the equipment and the new thought that is being put into our business. We have a lot of imagination, a lot of entrepreneurs, new people coming into this business are getting more information, and we're trying to make sure of it. Guys like you and me and others are all trying to make sure that people aren't making these big mistakes and losing their shirts. It's just not necessary. This is a wonderful business, and almost every laundry can prosper if it has a path. And that's the key. And that's where people tend to fail. They don't understand the path. They don't understand the timelines of the equipment and the lease and how they fit together. Let's say you want to buy a store with, maybe you have a 15-year lease and you buy a store with 9-year-old equipment, or 8-year-old equipment. Well, you're going to be forced to retool that store. So timing of that becomes an issue, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. How do you decide the timing? Because you've done the analysis and you have the plan, and you know what to expect, and you know what the costs are going to be, and you know what the benefits going to be. And in our experience, the return on investment is anticipated at 20% to buy a laundry. But on the work that we do after, it averages over 35%. Mm-hmm. In other words, if you buy a laundry for $100,000 and put $300 into it, you're in a heck of a lot better position than you are if you do it the other way around. Mm-hmm. In theory, if it's done right, the market is there, So there's a lot of analysis that goes in. I started doing this, when we were building stores way back, and learning this part of it. But I like to get to know the customers that are going to use the store. I like to drive through the streets and look at the apartments and see how many bicycles there are out in the front of the houses and things like that. And, of course, you examine the demographics to find out how many people per household and, how many are renters and what the incomes are. And, and then, of course, the Hispanic market is a big thing in a lot of areas where Hispanics are popular. They like to use laundries and they have big families and they're wonderful customers, And so they bring a lot to the table where they're located. So you look at all these different things and you drive through the area and you examine the other laundries and stuff, and it starts to come to light, And then through our analysis, we pay very close attention to the performance of the existing laundry. And through diligence, the new model pretty well builds itself. And that can happen, if you own a laundry and you say your equipment is 8 or 9 years old. Well, I don't care if it's 3 years old. Actually, if you can see by replacing that equipment with different equipment is going to pay you 35% and the current equipment is paying you 20%, well, it's in the end, it's just worth what it's worth sitting on the floor then, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not really worth income anymore. It's costing you income by being there. Mm-hmm. So don't be afraid to get rid of it. But yet people hold on to them until they can't operate them anymore. Mm-hmm. And in markets where the water costs are high, which is a good percentage of the country, the payoffs are tremendous. We're looking at water uses of under 1 gallon per pound, of wash, where we were, the old Laundromats. I remember Mark Stern was with Laundromat at the time, and Mark. Mm-hmm. I said, we've got to get the water down, Mark. We've got to get the water down. This is back in, I forget when, 2005, I guess, or 2004. And they were going to be coming out with the G6, the first automated machine. It was automated. I went to the factory and visited, and it was an amazing thing. And I said, you got to get the water down. He said, Jack, don't worry about the water. This is the most efficient machine. We're going to be all the way down to about 2.2.
Improvement of over 3. So
yeah.
Yeah.
But water's been an issue. And if I can go into the woods further as to directions and things, life has changed overnight. You hear a lot about pricing and everybody's worried about costs going up and things like this. Oh my God, how it's going to affect me. I've been through a few of these times, when inflation was 17% and interest was 21, mm-hmm. Yeah, when there've been a lot of different times, and the laundry is completely sustainable, but it suffers too, especially on my end, on the developer's end, on the seller's end, the equipment end, and that sort of stuff, because people pull back. It's the wrong time to pull back, but they do, because they can get good deals during that time and they don't get on others.
Right.
But at any rate, the industry is going in a way where you just have to learn how to navigate those things. You're not going to change anything. Okay. But you've got to survive. You've got to pay very close attention to your models right now and that you're performing up to snuff. And you've got to have the ability and the guts to raise your prices accordingly. We've had most of our clients raise their prices, 12 to 15%. And we'll probably take another bump later in the year from the way I'm seeing things coming about. But you just don't go out and raise prices on people. You have a strategy for that. I never raise prices like this unless I give something back to the customers too. To start with, I give them a good explanation. Just a couple of lines explain, say, we're always going to be as competitive as we can, but this is necessary due to the cost increases, something like that. Have it in a couple languages if you need to. And then run a promotion, in all of I'm extremely sensitive to the fact that we do cater in a big part of our base is low income rental markets, and it's important to always be able to be understanding of that. So when you're raising your prices, why not have off-hour pricing during certain times of the day on certain machines to allow those people to come in? You can do it during your slowest hours. And it's important to know you can do it nighttime, you can do it daytime, whatever works in your market area. But by doing that, you're not only gaining that business, but you're gaining a stature in the community, by running promotions and supporting community events and things. The laundry is not just a necessity of life business. Everybody understands that. They don't understand the degree of it, but they understand it. It's a community service necessity of life business, and serving the community is your key to success. But yet it's been overlooked. They've been little quarter factories. When you look at a laundry, you got a gold mine, you got a quarter factory there, and that's how people get it. You've got the easy life, you never have to work, things like that. These are killer statements. Some of it's true. We know that, but they're killer statements. Anyway.
What do you mean by killer statements? What does that mean?
Well, the idea that laundry is easy is absolutely true. Okay. You can go out and you can buy a laundromat and operate it and almost put no time into it successfully if you put everything into place. To think that you're going to go in and buy a laundry and the condition it's in and sit back and collect your check, you're kidding yourself. You're on the way down. There's only two directions in life, up or down. So, when you buy a laundry, you have to do a lot of investigative work. We in our due diligence, we don't miss a trick. I mean, we look at every single thing. You hear so many people after the fact, I bought the store and 2 months later, my hot water system went down. The swamp coolers didn't work. I didn't realize the swamp coolers didn't work. It was wintertime when I bought it, and there's so many things that are overlooked, not to mention the sustainability issue is necessary. And it's not that you have to demand that the seller repair all these things. They're not going to. Deferred maintenance is a factor in our life, and the degree is based on an individual operation. Mm-hmm. But you have to be aware of what your challenge is, right? It's like with water use. They say, well, it's a card store, so why should I care about the water? Well, are you kidding me? If it's using too much water, you want to find out why to reduce it, right? If it's not using enough, well, you still should probably think why. I mean, what is going on? Are settings so low? How is that affecting the customer? The facts contain the logic for the advanced thinking of the model, So, and that's why I tell people, buying a laundry is not a decision, it's a process. The majority of people that look for a laundry never buy one. And there's reasons for that too, which, basically they're not prepared. They don't know enough yet to make that decision. And when they do, they're in fear. And then when they find out how much they have to put into the store, usually that's the later side. If they haven't taken some guidance or know the business, usually they find out after the fact how much extra money they have to put into it, and that some of the machines may not be going to last too long, or they're the wrong mix for the store and things. And they're looking at what they have to spend again that they weren't prepared for. They get out. A lot of people just can't put it together before and just fade away. And it's a shame, because we can make laundry owners out of a lot of those people, an awful lot of them, and happy. But they need the guidance. They need to understand the business, and they need to be willing to work a little bit in understanding. People go to school for a long time for things. People think they can come in and buy a laundry. It's so easy to operate. They just collect the quarters, and it's not like that. You and I know that. You found out the hard way.
I did, sadly. But a lot of people do. And you're right. Like,
yeah, the majority.
Like you said, you've sat in those meetings where families are crying because they've made mistakes and it's cost them financially. And, I was in that situation. I wish I would have had someone like you or you that I, found when I was in my situation, because it was pretty awful. Right. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't, and so I've been there, yeah. But I've also now consulted, like you, with a lot of people who have been sold the easy button and not given the proper tools and the proper training and, to be able to operate a laundromat, successfully. And so it ends up biting them, and they lose money, and it causes stress, and, it's tough. It's tough.
Well, and the key all comes down to the model, the model that you go forward with, all of your planning and that sort of thing. You need to be able to take the information that you learn in the acquisition to develop a new model and make sure what the costs are and how it's going to perform and stuff. You have to do this during the escrow period. You don't want to close on a store that you find out you're not going to be able to improve. Mm-hmm. You have to have the exit strategy in place and comfortable before you close.
Can you talk a little bit about the model? Like, what can you give us maybe some examples or like what do you mean when you say you have to determine the model during that escrow period? What does that look like?
Okay, well, there's a series of models that we do in our system. Okay, and the first one is basically we take the stated model, and that's just the information that he's giving you. I have this many machines, and they're this old, and I vend them for that much, and I have this many dryers, and this is how many minutes, and this is how much I make on the various ancillaries, and this is all my expenses. Okay. So we take that. I never challenge that. I'm going to find out for myself. I honestly, I don't care if a guy's lying to me or not. If I did, I'd have to get in a different business. Okay. Right. It's not that everybody does in this business, but enough do. Uh-huh. You know, there's like 35,000 or more laundries across the country, you know, and so we have a lot of different personalities operating. But anyway, you know, you take that stated information, and then we do what we call the restorative model. Basically, that's a deferred maintenance check. We go through and we examine all of the documents, to see if his income is looking to be that way. And of course, we started a coin collection in our use analysis, at a specific time. We do a very detailed use analysis that I don't want to try to go into now, but it's very detailed and very telling. People say, "Oh, you can't do that." Well, you can. If it's not right, you have to know why, right? I mean, isn't that what diligence is? You're not just looking for issues that are not right. Are they correctable? Do I need to correct them? How do I do that? Can it be done? What's the result? There's only about 230 different issues that need that kind of attention, in a laundromat. So
yeah,
you really have to. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just going to say, and that why question is just as important as the what question, right? If not even more important. And it doesn't matter if things are looking fishy or if things are not lining up or if there's a problem. Also, when things are going good, you want to ask why, right? Because you want to, say, okay, well, why is that happening? And how can I continue that up? Or how can I apply that across different aspects of the business? Or how can I incorporate that into my mental model of the laundromat so that I can apply that to my next one when I get there? Or, so you want to ask that why question. It's crucial.
Well, and let me just say, it's the expert witness work that I do that has taught me more than any single event or any other aspect of the business. And I've done a lot of them now, and I've got 2 cases I'm working on now, and every one of them are interesting. But I have to go back in time and recreate the income and make the argument of what the income actually was based on certain factors and numbers and things like that. Sometimes I have very little information to go on. Mm-hmm. And it makes you dig, and it's that digging. The things I come up with are things that most people would ignore that can be catastrophic sometimes. As for instance, there was a client in Florida that we were working with, and we were going through it, and he had a pretty good store. It looked pretty good. It needs some retooling and things like this, but it all looked really good. He was really excited, and we got him in conversation and had him looking at the market area and stuff. He says, "Oh, this, I'm sure this is a good area. There's a new center that was just built down the street." He would have never, if he wouldn't have said that, or we wouldn't have had him looking around and talking to him about these things, he would have overlooked it. And I said, "Well, go down and find out if there's a laundry plan." And sure enough, there was. Mm-hmm. So he didn't buy that store. We ended up lowballing because the market would support 2 stores. Most do, if you want to get into that sometime. But the fact is that that was a late discovery and really saved him from spending at least twice what he should have that he should be for the store. So he ended up not buying the store, or the guy wouldn't come down that low. But at the same time, that's the kind of stuff that we come up with. We come up with a lot of different things. People will say, "Gee, Chuck, Oh, I like this store. I mean, it has some work. We need to replace some of the machines, but it's pretty good. And I've looked at the other stores, and they're real crappy. You scared the heck out of me. Mm-hmm. Give me their addresses. Let's go ahead and see if they're ready to retool yet. Yep. Because don't go away. We retooled 3 years ago. Do we have time for a short story?
Do it real quick. Yeah.
It's in the book. But, when I was a kid, I was an ordinary little cuss, and there was a laundry being built. It was the first one I ever saw. It was 1959, I guess, somewhere around there, And we played in the dirt when they were digging the sewers into it, and played in this place at night when they were done working. And when it was done, we'd go in and lift the tops of the top loaders up and scoop up nickels and dimes, which is what they use mostly then. Uh-huh. And we take that on Saturday, and we go to the movies, and we come back, and then we jump in the free dryers and ride. So that was my first early experience in laundromats. Well, Chris and I had the fun of retooling that store.
Oh, that's awesome.
5 years ago, and it was a great experience. It's still a great store, and it's better by far now. I mean, it's a store that was in a market, protected market, that really could go as far as the person was willing to take it. And it is as far as he was willing to take it, because I had a whole lot more ideas to give him, but he said, "Uncle," and it's doing great. And that's, that's the kind of business this is. We don't go away. We're built in a place. We're meant to be there till the walls crumble around us. But leases are a complicated issue now. They always have been. It's always been a challenge. But getting long-term leases are harder now than ever. But the survivability of a laundry is very good. And markets don't decrease too often. I mean, population tends to grow in most markets. So, when a new laundry comes in, or one of those old laundries retool, you need to be aware that it's happening, first of all, and you need to put a plan into it. You don't go discount. The first thing I tell people is to fix up your store, make it as nice as you can. Get rid of all your deferred maintenance. Make this as new as possible. If you're going to replace anything, start thinking about it. If you're not sure what to do yet, wait until you've taken the hit from the new store, but get everything ready, and then bump all of your prices before the store is open. So that when they come in to compete against you, they're competing against a fatter piece of pie. In other words, if you're all at $1.50, and he comes in and promotes his store at $1, he's going to bring everybody's business in. Now everybody's at $1.50. Well, a couple of those people around him are probably going to go down to $1.02 or 75 cents to compete against him and muddy up the market. I know market areas that have suffered for years because of this kind of activity. Mm-hmm. When a new laundry is coming in, you want to prepare for it. You're not going to make it go away. The water fees are going to keep that store there for a long time. But getting the leases, and that sort of thing, are still the biggest challenge. There's no getting around it.
Can we talk about that for a second? What are some of the challenges that you're seeing with leases right now?
Oh, I always try to see everything from the other person's perspective as good as I can when I'm dealing with them. I try to find out about people that I'm working with and what their incentives are, and, what bothers them and things like that. So when I go into a landlord, I'm usually pretty prepared and of what kind of challenge I'm going to have. And the biggest challenge, of course, right now is getting the lease extensions and this sort of thing. A lot of leases, a lot of people don't have good model management skills, so they let their leases slide a little bit. And if you're going to renew your lease, if your lease is up for option, then you should request an additional option to be extended to the end of that. So you're maintaining your lease continuously. The majority of laundry owners don't do that. So we have to go in and modify it. It's silly. If they're going to sell their business, they should have a good, strong lease and make everything as good as possible beforehand. Otherwise, I come in or you come in or somebody else comes in there and they're going to negotiate the lease on the buyer's behalf. We might piss off the landlord or make him think some things that are to your dishonor. Mm-hmm. You don't want. If as representing buyers, I want to negotiate that lease. I want to get the best lease I can for that buyer. Okay, when I'm working with sellers, I say you firm up your lease ahead of time. Okay, so that you don't want that broker to come in and muddy with your lease. You want to sell lease. If he wants to do anything with it after the fact, that's fine. And that's that makes the most sense. And only the buyer can do that, or the seller can do that. Otherwise, you have to have the buyer do it. I found that it's difficult to go in and precondition leases with landlords without a buyer in hand. So a lot of times you're taking listings as a broker, you don't even know if you're going to be able to sell it. Mm-hmm. That's a challenge, as we all know. And but this is the place now in today's market. I wouldn't sign a 25-year lease unless the last two were market options, maybe even with an out clause of some sort. I'd have, if I were going to sign a lease with a laundry owner now,
as a landlord, right?
As a landlord, excuse me. Now,
yeah.
I would be certain that the store would be maintained in a certain condition. I may have clauses in the lease that would, require that no less than a certain percentage of machines are always working. I would have requirements up to attended hours that a certain amount of attendance should do. And these things should be worked out with the landlord within the terms of the lease. And once again, who's going to do that for you? If you're buying a store, who's going to do that for you? Mm-hmm. Well, the seller, you're going to ask him to go and try to restructure the lease for you. Are you going to rely on the broker who's really mostly interested in getting it done? And a lot of us, are really going to do everything we can to structure the best lease. But in doing that, are we going to possibly step on the seller's toes? That's one of the reasons why a dual agency is more common in our business than not. We cooperate with others, but we don't cooperate with people that don't understand the business. Mm-hmm. Because we have to make sure the buyer is getting the right information and so on. So at any rate, if I were going to write a lease as a landlord today, I would put conditions in. And I would be happy to sign a 10-year lease. And that's a very reasonable amount of time, especially if you want a laundry in there, And I would probably give them a 5-year option that would roll over pretty comfortably, maybe with a bump. If I'm skeptical, I might say, okay, but subject to a bump of up to 15%, depending on the CPI between now and then and the adjustments therefore. And then after that, I'd probably say, I'll give you 2 market options, but I won't give you 2 straight up options, and I won't pre-negotiate them. So the market's too skeptical, So, I apologize to all of you out there that are hearing this and disappointed or thinking that I'm spreading stuff into the wind that shouldn't be there, but it's true. This is the atmosphere we live in, and laundry owners have to be prepared to know enough about their model. They have to be more understanding of the conditions of the elements of value and how it plays together now, because their future, like most of the world's in business, is more vulnerable today. What kind of an exit strategy do you have when you have a 15-year lease? Okay, depending on the age of the equipment, it'll vary, but it can be very difficult. Now, theoretically, normally we would say, okay, we would let it run down to, 11 or 12 years. And then we, go in and retool it. And we hit the landlord up for an extension to justify it and things like this. And that's all fine and dandy. But if you're doing that today, that might be difficult. So you're taking a bigger gamble in some cases today. You have to have faith in the business. But on the other hand, and then the pricing going up, and the construction costs dramatically,
labor costs, all that. Yeah.
Labor, construction, lease rates, it's all problematic.
Machine pricing.
The equipment's gone up.
We can keep going, man.
15% already this year, typically. And I know there's another bump planned in June and July. So, we're not done yet. And, it's a mountain to climb. There's no getting around it, but the effort is worth it. Where we're headed, we're going into, we've been a back shadows business all of our lives. We talked about is, I don't like those places. They stink, dirty and things. And we've come a long ways for most of us from there. The larger majority of people are trying to keep their stores clean. There's still an awful lot of rags out there. But and then we're in locations where we can keep rents low and things like this. Well, we're reaching a time in some markets where, $3 a foot is going to be cheap. We have to be able to learn how to step up. But the opportunity to do so is terrific for a lot of different reasons. What's happened in these last couple of years really excelled at. One thing I see is that the opportunity for the community servicing a necessity of life business is that they can enhance their community activities, increase ancillaries. I put sanitizers in stores where market area is right, and they're tremendous business growers. People don't have those at home. Mm-hmm. Stores clean and smells nice. And if you have off-hour pricing, where a lot of your lower income, especially any problematic customers, would tend to come at that time, and they're not there in the evenings and things like this, we are attracting more and more people. We've always kind of relied on those low-income renters. So we've been getting 10% of the population, using laundromats and less in some cases. It's pretty bleak when you consider what we bring to the table. Mm-hmm. Until recently, we haven't even tried to get the other group. Now with Fluff and Fold, more people doing service, dry clean agency work, nicer ancillaries, more comfortable atmosphere, dog washes in the stores. Leases started years ago with a really good concept of putting in, Starbucks and McDonald's and those kinds of businesses, mainstream businesses inside their property. They did that to offset the renting. Mainstream businesses, in great areas, and getting them large. And in order to average out a lower rental base to justify their pricing, they were getting higher rents from these franchises and this sort of thing. It's a very good thing to think about going forward, because we need to be able to bring in larger volumes of people at a vend rate that makes more sense in better locations that will attract them, and the opportunities there. Also, the lifestyles have changed so much today. People don't go out and do things as much as they do. So when they do, they want to have a better experience. Mm-hmm. And if you can make that experience nice, a girlfriend I had and I used to meet at the laundry every Tuesday night so that we could do that together and spend some time and, take off and get some coffee and stuff like that. And we'd go out afterwards. So it was our meeting spot. And that's true with a lot of people. It's a place where life happens, and it doesn't have to be the dredge that it is. It's up to the laundry owner to make it a better experience. And every time they make it a little bit better, they bring in a larger percentage of the population from a different area. If you're promoting and reaching out, that's why I say your base level really is based largely on that rental and lower income area in a laundromat, even regardless of where you are. You have to say, okay, these people need to use the laundry. I can count on them. Where does that take me? Now, how do I make a real business out of it from there? And that's the challenge. And that's where I really spend my time is analyzing the markets and looking at this sort of thing. And that's the fun part of the job. I'm laying out a laundry. We have 4 retools going on right now, and a couple deals in escrow, and we don't do a lot of brokerage now. We only do our own clients for one thing. We don't take general listings, and we don't unless it's a suitable retool for one of our consulting clients, then we hook those up. But for the most part, we rely primarily on just consulting, and then we take on specific projects. And we just signed on, and I'll get into this another time because it's preliminary, but we have something really big coming where we're probably going to be putting together some extremely high scale stores, new stores into the marketplace in the next couple of years. We're in negotiations now with a plan to do that, and they're going to be beyond what you see right now. So pretty excited about that. But there's just so many things happening in our business. There's so much opportunity out there. Mm-hmm. Now, water costs aren't going to go down. They're going to go skyrocket. I know what the sewer and water fees and systems are like across the country I travel in. I know how much water I have to cart my RV with me, depending on where I go, So, but that said, apartment owners and that sort of stuff are also going to be charging for water more and more. A lot of older apartments, especially, the water and sewer fees are paid. So they don't have individual meters. This is dying off and has been dying off and will continue. And people are going to be paying their own water fees. Now, I just saw an ad. It was great. It was one of these rental places. A washer and a dryer, $87 a month. And that sure doesn't compete with a laundromat.
Yeah.
And it sure doesn't compete with a laundromat, if they're paying their own water fees. If they have a family of 3, it's a break-even point. I figured it out. Family of 3, that's about a break-even point to own that washer and dryer. How much laundry are 3 people going to do in that one washer and dryer? They're going to be washing 3 loads a week. I mean, three loads a week piece. Okay. That's a lot of laundry to have to do. Well, if you don't want to dredge your clothes off to the laundromat, that's fine. But when they get backed up, the laundry is still there. If they believe in the laundry, if they know it's clean, it smells nice and everything else, they're apt to use it. There's also the fluff and fold option. Here's a tip for laundry owners out there. I always use fluff and fold. I like fluff and fold. I have a washer where I wash my cookie stuff in my rig. I have a washer and dryer in there. But my main stuff I take in. But I won't go to a laundry unless they also have a shirt service attached to it. In other words, if they need to do the drop-off, pick-up and delivery, or not pick-up and delivery, but the drop-off dry clean agency and shirt laundry, because I don't want to go to 2 spots to do that work.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have my fluff and fold done at a laundry that offers that support. So just a tip. There are a lot of people like that, so keep that in mind when you're developing your fluff and fold, is that what do you do with the people's shirts? I wear jeans most of the time nowadays and sweats and stuff because I'm not out in public as much as I used to be. Except I dress up a little bit in the videos, but a lot of people, but I want my shirts to be clean. I want them to be, ironed and properly finished, because people do see that more. You can buy with jeans almost anywhere nowadays. But the opportunity also is there because I have a lot of faith in our manufacturers. I always felt like we were pulling them into something, but they've always risen to the challenge. And we're not done in this equipment. I believe, between you and me and your audience,
we'll keep it a secret.
The next real generation of equipment is going to be so far advanced and so efficient that we will, if we prepare for that, have the opportunity to take on a lot of the home market, a lot of the upper end market.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to do it backwoods and dirty stores. We've got to put those stores out there that are capable and have a reputation. The only reason they don't do it at a laundry is because it's too convenient for them to do it at home. And as we have the opportunity to bite into that market over these next generation or this next 10 years, I believe, and really make this business a difference by getting better locations and different operations, good policies and procedures. When I was in Europe, I took some time. I stumbled in college on my career choice. I was hit in the head by a sense of reality, and decided I need to think things out. So I put a pack on my back and I went to Europe for 18 months and bummed around. I worked where I could, and did anything I needed to move throughout Europe and things. At that time, I was in Germany, and by the Autobahn station, there was usually a little, restaurant type thing, a little cafe, actually. And they'd have donuts and rolls and all this sort of stuff. And they'd serve espressos and coffees. And you would wait there, until it was time for your Autobahn to show up. And there were little stand-up tables, and it was really nice, and they were fantastic. They were so fantastic. When I bought a bike shop a little later, because I went into that business first, I actually put those tables in the floor to work on, because I just thought that was really a sociable way of doing quick business, So anyway, I wondered to myself why we don't have coffee shops like that. And it just bothered me a lot of the time. I wasn't in that business and wasn't interested in it. When Starbucks came on and I first saw it, I just hit me. I said, finally, somebody figured it out. And I sat there and I watched, expecting one donut shop after the other to upgrade the stores. the donut industry, the donut shops, just let that market go away from them.
Yeah, they did.
Thousands of stores across the country. I don't want the laundry business to do that. When I started in the bicycle business, it was just coming to its own too. Before that, they were all dirt shops. You can't help smell the rubber when you walk into them, but they were just dirty and grungy, and they're like, they repair everywhere and stuff. So, I was really all about really making nice professional stores, good displays, and all this sort of things from the very get-go. So when I left the bicycle industry, stores really stepped up and they were very nice and that sort of thing. And I felt proud that I had a part to do with some of that in the stores that I worked with. Then I come into the laundry industry, a big challenge still.
Yeah.
They actually stink.
Yeah. Well, I think it was, I want to say, I'm pretty sure it was Peter Stern who came on the podcast, a little while back, and he made a prediction that makes a lot of sense to me. I think I agree with it. And he kind of compared it to lawn care, right? Super easy, super convenient to store a lawnmower in your garage or a shed or something. Everybody used to mow their own lawns, and that was just kind of part of the regular rhythm of chores that people did. And now just about nobody mows their own lawns, right? There's, at least around here in Southern California, there's gardeners who are doing all the lawn care. And it's almost ubiquitous around here, right? And he kind of made the prediction or the comparison and saying, hey, I think in the next however many years it ends up taking, laundry is going to go the way of lawn care because it's just going to make more sense. It's going to get less expensive for people to do that than to do it on their own. They're going to buy back their time. Nobody likes to do laundry anyways. There's the whole laundry list, no pun intended, of reasons why that very well could be the case. And I think it probably will be the case.
Well, yeah, I think we're just on the onset of it. So it's a call to arms for people looking to get into this business and for current owners to upgrade their stores and be prepared for a much greater future. And I don't want to see people avoiding getting into this business just because they can only get 15-year leases. I don't want to see people avoiding this business because they think the challenge and the costs are too great. I want people to look at the rewards, and of course, they have to be have the wherewithal. But I want them to be able to take a look at this business for where it's going and be a part of it. And there's nothing but prosperity ahead. I can't think of a better business. There's nothing that's going to shake it off its ends as long as we're wearing clothes that have to be washed, that's just a fact of where this business is going.
Well, go ahead. Sorry.
No, please go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's a pretty good transition to, so your book, I have it right here.
Good.
Yeah. So it's called The Laundromat, an American Dream Business and an Entrepreneur's Playground. You mentioned it earlier. And you're talking about how it's an American dream business here and all that. So, let's flesh that out a little bit and talk about, why do you call it that? Why did you name the book this? And, like you said, I wrote down the quote, owners need to get prepared for a much better future. And there's nothing but prosperity ahead, right? I wrote that down because I love that. And obviously you believe it. You wrote the book on it, right? So talk a little bit about that.
Oh, I'd love to. Well, thank you. Thank you for the plug. And I certainly loved it. We've been talking about the book the whole time, actually.
Right.
There's a little poem on the back of my book. It was something I read at a guy's business. I was selling Yellow Pages as a little sideline one time, and he had it there. And I copied it down, and it's been on my wall, and my belief of what kind of life I want to live all my life. But it means that my life and work are all blended together. Nobody knows if I'm working or playing, and I'm always really doing both. And I really do. I live in an RV bus. I work whenever I work. I do work 24/7. People get emails that were written at 3 a.m. and they think, "What do you do?" They think I'm working 70 hours a week or 80 hours a week. I'm not. I work normal amount of hours, but I'm always on. I'm always ready to take a call from a client. I'm always thinking. I can't help it when I see something. I'm sure you do the same thing, Jordan. It's in any entrepreneur, and It's certainly in everybody who's career-minded that things will trigger thought, and you explore them and things like this. So the book is basically a bunch of experience, all written down in a way that not only tells you what to look out for and what to look for and how to understand what you're looking at, but it gives them an insight as to what can happen if they make certain kinds of mistakes. What are the consequences of some of their actions? How do they play the game? I want people to prosper in this business. I mean, that's my dedication, and Chris's too. Our dedication. We had always tagged ourselves buyer's broker, but we are taking that off. We're dedicated to a better industry. That's what it really is. Our dedication is to helping one laundry owner at a time create his dream in line and in light of what we see as the future of this business. We want them to be prepared to take advantage of it. And I believe in community more than almost anything else, even though I don't really live in a community. I've always moved around. I believe in that community, and I believe that being a part of it is a big part of this business. The ones that are, if there are events, why not have a free dry event or all the money goes to this charity that comes into our dryers this day? What wonderful types of opportunities we have in this business. You can get community leaders on your side. And these people deal with low income. They deal with the families, the sports teams, and all of these sorts of things. It pays to be a little bit active. If you're hands off, get yourself a good go-to person, that manager that's going to care enough and give them these challenges and reward them, but participate in your community, be a part of it. When people think about where to do their laundry, it shouldn't come as a surprise when they come to you. You should be the first one whose mind it comes to. So this book is designed to give people the incentives and the ideas and let them see how they go about it, what's available to them, what's the complications, how they need to prepare themselves, especially that. I don't like, we're very careful that people have the wherewithal to complete these projects. I mean, extremely, because I've seen so many people who weren't. We want them to know the challenges ahead, not just after they take over, but for the next several years going down the road. And this book kind of shows people how to do that. The Entrepreneur's Playground is my favorite part of the book. And that's that. We've been talking a little bit about that. My God, use your head. Ray Kroc saw a path for McDonald's from the McDonald's brothers, who had, I think, 3 stores or something like that at the time. And they just had really clicked into a pattern and a system that was making sense. When he came in, they couldn't advance their thinking. And he literally took it away from them because of it. You don't want to be Ray Kroc in this business. I mean, you want to be Ray Kroc in this business, not McDonald's brothers. You want to be able to have a vision and explore it and be dramatic. Don't be afraid don't limit your choices thinking, well, it's a laundromat. You don't know, but test it. Don't do anything, especially anything expensive or permanent, that you don't know is going to work, and that's one service that we provide. We bring a lot to the table. I can see paths pretty well, and I can understand opportunities pretty well, and I can understand the populations very well. And I can kind of put them together to see if that you're making sense or not. And I might bring some things to the table. That's the kind of stuff that we do for our existing clients and new ones. But use your imagination, use your entrepreneurial skills. An entrepreneur is not somebody that has ideas. It's somebody that has ideas and exercises. We're somebody that takes ideas and exercises, that sees the path and goes there. That's an entrepreneur. People think it's the idea guy. Idea guys are a dime a dozen. Everybody's got ideas. Heck, if I could use 10% of my ideas, I'd have to live an extra 100, 200 years. And I have ideas every day. You do too, Jordan.
I do, yeah.
Would it be nice to? The biggest problem I've ever had is not exploring all of the opportunities I see.
Yeah.
There was a very major manufacturer when they were first starting up in a garage, making parts for things for bicycles, who's become a world-known name now. offered me the job to do the marketing stuff. I was with Chaton Bicycles at the time. It was owned by Renault, and I was really turned on with what I was doing, and I didn't want to make that change. And he brought another guy in. It became a very successful company. And I don't think it's right to name it right now, but everybody that's listening would know that name. Now, I don't know that would have happened if I had been gone on there. It might have changed everything for the negative. Who knows? You don't know what the outcome would have been, but opportunities do come along. Recognizing them, understanding what kind of path there is, and then deciding if that's the right path over this path over here. Those are the choices of an entrepreneur. So that said, you are challenged, to use those skills, and those skills mean making it nicer. Consider. And this, I stole this example from somebody who I tried to challenge on it, but wouldn't accept the challenge. So I sat there thinking, dang, now he thinks I feel this way. But anyway, consider you make a bathroom in your laundry. If you're going to have a bathroom in there anyway, with a nickel lock or not, you're going to have a bathroom in your laundry. Make it as nicer than they have at home. Put a changing table in there if you have kids in the area, or there's a chance that they'll need it. Have a chair in there for ladies to sit. Have the necessities that you need. Make it smell nice. Put a plant in it. Have a little music pumped in, or if you have regular music pumped in, make sure it's going into the rest. Make that experience nice, because people will avoid laundries with bad bathrooms. And if they're nice and they're really nice, they'll enjoy the store and tell their friends, and you're going to gain more customers. If that bathroom costs you $10,000, it takes very few extra customers to pay for that over a couple of years. Right?
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Think of these things. People I tell things to laundry owners sometimes, and it just baffles me when I get their responses. It's almost like they're afraid they're going to make more money. No, I'm not going to do that. Well, they don't care. I've been in laundries where there's water on the floor constantly because there's leaks and the drains are clogged and things like this. How do you do this? And he was in a college town. These kids don't give a damn. We sold that store and we retooled that store. And let me tell you something. I guess they did, because a whole lot more of them come in now, and it's amazing that, you've been in them too. And most of your active searchers have been in stores that literally have that mildew scent all the time. Machines are unkept. A lot of them are broken down. I've been in stores where they were in that condition and still had customers going in, where only a few machines were working. And we go in there and start jackhammering, and they'd still be coming in. Just an FYI, I don't close the stores typically when we retool.
Me neither, yeah.
Yeah, it's a necessity of life. I don't want to make those people go somewhere else. So I'll section off a small section and do, and work towards it. So, I don't like closing stores for any reason. But at any rate, but they'll come in under the worst conditions and do their laundry. And there's that segment because they need to. I'll be in stores that are just terrible and people are obviously not enjoying themselves, and say, why do you come here? And they say, I don't know. I came here when I was a kid with my mom. I just always come here. People are creatures of habit. It takes a little work to get people to come from one laundry to another. Oh, one more thing I wanted to get into is that I've never really run into a situation where a new laundry has come into a market and destroyed another laundry that wasn't recoverable. Okay. I mean, I've gone to laundry markets and retooled 3 stores within a couple miles over a few years. And every one of them are doing significantly better than they did before, or proportionally the same, which means they're running at about 35% of reinvestment or better. So that's an amazing thing. Now, how does that happen? How all of a sudden are all of these stores doing more business in a single market area? Well, they had to cut into the market. The more hamburgers, more McDonald's they put out, the more business they all did, right? Mm-hmm. McDonald's doesn't get scared when Jack in the Box opens across the street. It just means more people are going to go to that section to do the work. Don't be afraid of competition. I have people I've guided with 2 laundries on a single shopping center. You've probably run into some of those yourself. I mean, it's not common, but I can think of a half dozen or more that I know of that are like that. And even they compete well with each other and get their own segment of the market by taking a look at the other's business. Education in this business is everything. The more you learn, the more you listen, the better you understand. People, this is a shortcut society, and the younger people are even more so, for good reason. They grew up on tidbits of information instead of volumes. And you have to check yourself. You really need more than that. You need to put more time into how you're going to put your market together, how you're going to put your model together, rather, and how you're going to implement it. And you have to put, have staffing that's going to support it. You have to pay whatever it's going to cost, and you have to build a model that supports what it's going to take to properly, provide the services that you think the community deserves. It's just that simple. It's all logic. As beautiful as it can be, and as mystical as the ideas can be, and as far-reaching as some of them might go, it's really very logical as to how you build a model. Once you've established where your base is and assured yourself you're going to get it, you can take it as far as you want. I literally can go into a store I retooled 3 months ago and give them new ideas. I'll probably never stop. As I said, sometimes the owner just says, "Uncle Chuck, thanks. Come back in a year. I can't go any farther," because the growth potential of the laundry is terrific. If you know how to get it. So.
Yeah. And I love that, because I think too, ideas beget ideas. It's a muscle, right? So if you stop thinking about your laundromat and looking for ways to improve it, and looking for ways to improve the service you're providing and all that muscle kind of atrophies. And then it's hard for you to you get blinders on, right? You don't see the puddles of water that are on the ground. You don't smell the mildew smell, anymore, because it's just your laundromat, right? And you're not looking for ideas on how to improve your business, how to improve your service, how to improve the customer experience. But if you're training your mind to say, okay, hey, where are the opportunities here? And I think even more importantly, if you can get an outsider's perspective, somebody who knows the industry, somebody like you or like Chris or like any of the number of other, consultants or people that are in the industry who can kind of come in from the outside and say, hey, have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? And, it's like anything, right? When it's your own thing, you need that outside perspective.
Focus.
Yeah. That tunnel vision. Sometimes you need that outside perspective to stimulate the ideas again. So if you're somebody out there who, maybe you're stagnant in your business, or even slightly declining, or you haven't really done anything to your business in a while, I always try to advocate, hey, do one thing, one noticeable thing. I used the word dramatic earlier. I wrote it down. I love that. Do one thing every single year to improve your laundromat and to demonstrate to your customers that you are taking care of it. That doesn't have to mean, drop $200,000 on equipment every year. It might one year. But it could mean, hey, redo the floors, put some paint on the wall, redo the bathroom, look for ideas, to improve your business. So I love that you said that, and that you're an idea farm. I like that.
Yeah, well, it's a fact. And like I say, it's not, the book is really, I think, the most complete book out there as far as going into the details and the operations and how to succeed and what to look for and stuff. But it comes down to the fact that like we said earlier, buying a laundry is a process. And the first step of that process is informational. Too many laundry owners, they get an idea of, boy, laundry really sounds like a good idea. They think about it, and they think about it. And then they go out and they start calling on ads, and I get them all the time. When we run ads for listings that we do have, I'll get 40 calls, and 3 of them might actually be potentially serious, because people just don't know what to expect. And then when they start hearing some of the horror stories, they get scared and they walk away or whatever. The fact is that if you want to get into this business, you start doing your education and you start developing your team. You prepare yourself. You prepare a financial package, for yourself. So you get a lender on board that will give you some kind of a statement, if you can, that you're qualified for investments of this amount. You find service people in the market area and start talking to them. They might know of laundries for sale too. There's a process. You don't want to go out and start shopping laundries. You don't want to be sold a laundromat. You want to buy a laundromat.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big difference. You want to make those decisions based on wisdom and performance and education and study and analysis. You don't want to buy it because somebody said, "Oh, you're going to make a killing on this." What's the biggest false statement you've ever heard, Jordan? Mine is this one. Yeah, the equipment's older. It's kept in good condition. You got to deal with the equipment. It's got to be kept working. Move on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So easy.
Yeah.
The lease comes up in about 7 or 8 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think for me, it's like, yeah, here's what your return on investment is going to be when you buy the laundromat based on this pro forma, right? Well, there's a whole lot that's got to happen to, make whatever numbers they're saying work, and I see that all the time too. I mean, exactly.
I never challenge the seller's numbers or words, with them. Because as soon as you do, they stop talking to you. And I want to get all the information. There's a grain of truth, or at least something that will key me to take a better look at almost every word they say, So you don't want to put them on the defensive where they're not telling you things anymore. So just listen. Our diligence system, if they use that, they will not be fooled. They'll know that laundry much better than the seller did. That's a guarantee we make. You will know that store thoroughly. You'll know the problems and you'll know the challenges ahead. You'll know that you can deal with them. For my entire life, I've always been a risk taker. I have a very solid center, Jordan, but I'm a big risk taker in things that I choose to do. And I have one checkpoint. I say, what's the worst scenario? Can I handle it? Is it worth it?
Mm-hmm.
So it's 3 thoughts. Take me there, and then, I try to live my life on the basis of ability, guts, and performance. You put those together, pretty challenging,
Yeah. I mean, I love that kind of rubric to work through making a decision on whether you're going to do something. And I think even just, if you're somebody like I'm sure you do too. I do consulting calls all the time with people who are like, man, I've been thinking about buying a laundromat for 10 years or, whatever. And I'm like, well, why haven't you? Right. And, there's a litany of reasons, but yeah, I mean, if you're somebody who's sitting on the fence like that, first of all, just know there's nothing wrong with that, right? If that's you, and that's where it is. So there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're trying to actually, if you have some goals that you're trying to accomplish, it's going to require you to take some action, right? And it might require you to take some risk, but going back, listen to, that rubric that Chuck is talking about and put yourself through that rubric, right? Like if you're thinking about buying a laundromat, ask yourself the 3 questions, right? Is that, what were the 3 again? Is it,
what's it going to cost? What's the worst scenario if I do this?
Mm-hmm.
What's it going to cost? And is it worth it?
Worth it. Yeah, exactly. And, put yourself through that rubric. And if you can, kind of check off those 3 questions and have a good understanding of that, then it's time to start taking some action. Maybe that action is, calling Chuck up or find a consultant or,
well, that's what we recommend.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Which by the way,
yeah. And then if you take that, I'm sorry, Jordan, if you take that and you check your abilities, make sure that you've got everything in place, you prepare yourself and you have the guts, then it's all up to you to perform it. And that is the combination that will get you there, is good, thorough planning, shrewd but fair negotiations and a good plan of attack and implementation. Those are the things that people have to do. Too many stop at the beginning. A lot of people, once they think they want a laundry, they just want to buy a laundry.
Mm-hmm.
It was stuff. I'm there. When I wanted a motorcycle, I went out and bought a motorcycle. I didn't, we're all that way to some degree, but this is business. You've got to stop yourself and check yourself a little bit. And you're putting a lot on the line. This is not an easy business. People put their life savings in these businesses. Mm-hmm. So, you need to be cautious. So,
and you can't lose that life savings too.
Yeah. You don't want to just take a statement and listen to that real nice guy and think he's just telling you everything. there's always more to know. Like I said, I learn from everything I do, and I learn new stuff every time I repeat it. That's what learning is. And I understand things differently and better, which leads to new questions. So, I encourage people when they're searching, it's not the amount of time you take, it's how you spend it. And when you buy a store, plan on 6 months of real model building, in hands-on model building, performing your plans, training your staff. Too many people just hire people. The way they treat your customers will make a difference in your business. Mm-hmm. If you have policies of things that they do and procedures, your employees will be happier. You pay whatever it's going to take to employ to get the right staff and replace them. You just continually replace them until you get a team. Mm-hmm. And then you're free to pay a little bit lower wage to the new ones that come on after that. But you've got to have that in place. That's everything. If you don't, you won't have that hands-free experience successfully. You've got to have a team, or at least in a smaller laundry, it may just be a go-to person who spends maybe 3 hours a day there, in divided shifts. However, the model occurs. We explain what the model breakdowns are in the book too. But the thing is that you've got to have everything lined up, and you have to exercise it. Those first 6 months don't necessarily require physical time. It requires mental thought, mm-hmm. focus, planning, learning more education, and having the team ready to carry those things out. When we retool a store, I only go to it 4 or 5 times during the course of the retool. That's all I need. I know who I'm dealing with, the contractors, and I know what they do. We can answer most of the questions from wherever we are. There are videos and things like this. So Chris, who my partner and brother and son-in-law, who works with me, owns and operates a family laundry. He and his dad own a very nice store that we retooled years ago because nobody would touch it, and we did. And it's been profitable for a long time now. He goes in there twice a week, and he spends 2 to 3 hours a day. And he always jokes because I give him a hard time by it. He says, yeah, I know if Chuck went in there, he'd be out in an hour. And that's just a fact. You don't have to spend a lot of time there. In fact, with card systems, you can go in once a week. Although I like 2 times a week visit myself. You want to talk to your employees and a few things.
Finger on the pulse a little bit, yeah.
Right, but boy, those cameras are beautiful. I want good camera, and I want to be able to communicate in with them. If I see something happening I don't like, say the police are being called. So especially in self-service stores. I love cameras, and I'm very good at managing employee via camera. I'll call every employee on staff at one point or another during a week or two and ask them something about what's going on right then at the store. Say, I noticed a guy seems a little confused back there by the door. Can you go check on him for me? I swear, one of them asked me, so you don't have a camera in the bathroom, do you? And I said, of course not. That they were being watched 24/7. But truthfully, I go on cameras 2-3 times a day. Only takes 4 or 5 minutes. And I check it. And these are stores that I oversee for people. I oversee several, or give oversight, rather, I should say, to several laundry owners that some I've dealt with for a long time. And I keep an eye on their store. I keep it. They give me their numbers so I can see when it's time to promote it, and they keep me informed of what's going on. So we kind of continually work together to keep the store going forward. And I have a store that we've retooled. We retooled partially and then fully, and now we're bringing in a couple of supersize 100 and 135 pound washers into it. So we get it to a point. Like I said, I don't like to do things hastily. I like, if I'm going to put in those $20,000 and $30,000 machines, I want to make sure that they're going to perform, right? So we did that, and we made the space, and so the growth of a laundry can continue. 3 years down, he may not talk to me for a couple of years or something like that. If he starts going along and he's done all he's willing to do, he says, "Uncle," and then sometime down the line he'll call back, and we'll go over it and we'll come up with the next plan of attack. And that's you just keep it going that way, and that's good because laundry owners, as you said, they get tunnel vision. They stop appreciating the asset that they have, and this sort of thing a little bit. And they need a kick in the rear end. They need to see the opportunity again to get excited. And as you say, I think every year at least, I like people to look at their leases every 6 months, and I like them to follow their numbers continuously. And our clients, so we like them to send them to us weekly. I look at weekly numbers for about 11 stores right now, and just kind of see how they're doing. And the beauty is this, is that there is an absolute balance to how a store should perform, and if you go into a store that's, messed up and stuff, you're going to see the turn levels all over the place. You go to a store after we did it, there's a perfect balance, and it's seasonal, adjusting around the center, right? I never use 30-pound washers in a store. People are creatures of habit. You've got to have a lot of the same washer, enough of them to satisfy the market during the busiest time. If you split 30s and 40s, so if you get into 50 machines and more, you can start thinking about having both in, but it's one or the other. And the 40s make more money, so I put those in. But, so there's a way to develop stores that are logical. You have to understand the market, and then you can grow to 7 or 8 turns in any of my stores. And there are ways to do it by, promoting and manipulating certain things. We're able to keep those numbers going forward for a long, long time.
Awesome. Well, there's been so many like crazy nuggets. And in fact, the book is the same way. There's just so much in there. It's like stuffed to the covers with stuff. So I'm going to ask you about how people can find that in a second. Not yet. We do have a couple segments I want to run by you. I think anybody listening to this is going to be interested in hearing your answers to these questions. So segment number 1 is called Secret Sauce.
Listen up, it's the secret sauce.
And here's what secret sauce is. What's if you had to give, and there's going to be a lot of, it depends on the scenario on this, but if you had to give one kind of general piece of advice to laundromat owners, something that can help them maybe take their business to the next level, what piece of advice might you give?
Well, as a basis, it's the well-known, safety, cleanliness, minimizing deferred maintenance, keeping the lights on, keeping it smelling good, just the basic operational stuff. The real sauce going forward, is in staffing. I'm convinced that having staff will add at least 1/2 turn to almost any laundry, if it's staffed. And you have the opportunity for bringing in more ancillaries and providing additional services with staff. I think laundries need to face the facts. And that now, this is a big market, Jordan, with a lot of different areas and a lot of different operational requirements. And there's certainly places where the self-service laundry will last forever. There's always room for them. And there are areas where they can't justify replacing equipment. They've got to keep them going because the water fees don't help, and the market's just not that expansive. There's always those sidelines. But for most markets, if you're in a populous area, you need to beef up the staffing. Even in a self-service laundry, and in the book, I have examples of how you can do it. But I believe that a self-service laundry requires 10% of the income should go to staffing, and I believe that's true in almost every situation. Now, if something in the market area requires additional staffing, then you either got to raise your prices, add ancillaries, or increase turns in order to justify it. But the base model level should be sustained with a 10% staff cost. And other things would pay any overages to that. Now, with that, you can have somebody there 3 or 4 hours a day, depending on what you're paying in different areas. And that's not bad coverage. That means that place is always going to be clean and people know it. And it means that during the busiest times of the day, there will be a presence for maybe an hour, or so that people know that they're being taken care of. The trash is being picked up. Somebody said hi and smiled. These things go a long ways. And if you're in an area where you're in larger stores, and you have a greater opportunity and you're fully staffed or 8 hours a day or whatever, these things have to be worked out. Staffing is really one of the key issues facing us going down the road, along with paying higher rents and getting into better market spots. Staffing is the next step in professionalizing our business into going mainstream. as I said earlier, and I don't know if I even finished it because we got sidetracked, but this business has always relied on the low income and rental business, but the majority of the population that doesn't use our services as much as our target, so you have to put in the things and conditions and that are going to attract those people. And that's where the real prize is. And you're not going to do that without staffing. People won't feel safe, no matter how much you keep the store clean. If there's not somebody there, there's always going to be an element coming into a laundry. We can't keep people out. If you have homeless situations, there are ways of dealing with the homeless. Go to Laundry Cares for one. They have some good programs that I believe in very strongly. And also, we have our own systems that we've dealt with these situations a lot. Let's face it, we go into retools and some of the bad areas. I've had to deal with gang problems, and that's a lot much harder still, but it's still manageable. Still manageable. But when you get that base level and then you're really ready to explore. Once you get the place where people are appreciating you, you can increase staffing as you increase business. You've gotten to a point, and then you can go idea crazy to bring people in. And if you run out of them, give me a call.
Yeah, we got
or call Jordan. Either one.
Yeah, we got the human idea farm right here.
We are idea farm. Yeah. That's right.
Awesome. I mean, I think that's great secret sauce. I love the staffing angle, and I think it's only going to get more important as we go forward. Like you said, like the opportunities going forward, a lot of that has to do with creating experiences for in positive environments and that kind of came out all throughout, even like in your create a nice bathroom talk, right? It's like this environment, this experience, and also the service element of what we do. It used to be like, hey, these things were empty all the time, and people just kind of came and went as they went. And there are still, that model still does exist. However, even in that model, like you want to hire somebody, yes, who's going to do a good job at cleaning when they do come in and clean, but also who's going to do it with a smile. I had a cleaner one time. She was feisty. And I rolled up one time. She did a great job of keeping things clean and was nice most of the time to people. But I rolled up one time and she is just yelling at the top of her lungs at a customer. And I was like, what is happening here? Right? Like it makes a difference if you have somebody who's good and helping you create that environment, and also, adding that service element, whether even if that's just in a unattended self-service laundry model, there's still a service element there where, they're going to be interacting with people. So I thought that was great advice.
No, it is, and you're right. It is the experience. And if it's negative, then, chances are people won't come back. Mm-hmm. Their friends, good things. I talk a lot about branding and perception. And I mean, everybody's on a branding kick right now, branding themselves, branding this, branding. But what is branding really? Branding is perception. Mm-hmm. Branding is creating a perception. Perception is basically three things, right? Perception is what you see, okay, and what you're told to see, or led to see, mm-hmm. and what you can't ignore. Mm-hmm. Those are the total elements of perception. So if you overbrand and you don't live up to it, then the third element will come in and blow you right out of the water. You'll get negative reviews and everything else. So you don't want to overbrand. You want to brand sincerely, but you want to brand loudly. You want to brand significantly enough to attract the population that's available to you, but then you want to live up to that brand. So it's all about those three things: what you physically see, what you're led to see, and what you can't ignore. And keep that in mind in everything that you do, and making these laundries better and that sort of thing. I think that's a real key thing to understand. But it's all about that. People see themselves as inferior when they use inferior types of businesses and places to do their business. Mm-hmm. They feel stereotyped, even if they're quite comfortable there. They're still stereotyped. Oh, you're a renter? Oh, no. I'm in the wintertime, I'm at a resort where a lot of the people own the space, and I keep debating it. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, really, when I look at the future here, it doesn't really make sense. So there's an element of those people that look at the rest of us who lease spots for 6 months or so, like, oh, you're not an owner, like this. But that's just the way things are. Make your customers feel more important by giving them a place where when they come there, they're not feeling in disgrace. It doesn't stink. Oh, I have to go there. I don't have a washer and dryer. No, I go there, man. I always enjoy myself. I've met great people there. It smells good. Music's good. They've got games and stuff to play. And, it's a whole different thing. Or, sometimes I'll leave it and they've got this deal where I can put it in the washer and come back and it's all folded, and I pay a little bit less than the fluff and fold because of it, and I like to wash my own clothes anyway. These sorts of things, you have to understand, if you're looking at what they're experiencing, then you're going to grow something and build something that's going to enhance that, right? If it's paying off, wow, they really like that, I'm going to do it again. And there's no magic to it. It's just you feel it inside yourself, that these things is timely. Don't ignore those feelings. You're being told something by yourself. It's time to, this place stinks. I've got to take this out. One of my favorite shows is Bar Rescue. And yes, I'd love to be able to treat some of my clients the way he does, but I'm not paying, because really you do have to change the person's thinking sometimes.
Yeah.
That's the biggest challenge. You can change a place and make it beautiful, but if they're not on board, if they don't get it, and if they're not, tracking with you, it may just be an added expense to their proposition. We try to gauge and encourage our clients in those regards. I want to know that the people are up for that ride before I take them there. When I'm throwing up in the back seat of my car. So, it's just the way it is. So, there's just a lot to it. It's a wonderful business. The sustainability of it and the potential and the creativity that lends itself is limitless. It's kept me involved for 37 years. And let me tell you, it's not my scenario to own property and to own laundries and things like that. It's my place is getting things done, moving on, following up, moving on. I like change. People see me throughout my life. Half of them never recognized me until I opened my mouth, because my appearance changes. I've been huge before, I've had long hair, short hair, a beard, no beard. I like change. Change stimulates me, keeps me going. And business is like that. If you keep it changing and improving, it'll last forever.
Yeah. I love it. The RV life is perfectly suited for you then with all that change. Okay. Yeah. So our next segment that we have is called Pro Tips.
Pro Tips.
And Pro Tips is for maybe the person getting into the business for the first time. What piece of advice would you give to somebody who's maybe looking to buy their first laundromat? Well,
I'll tell you quite frankly, don't go out and start shopping laundromats right away. The biggest reason why newbies don't perform or don't buy a laundry isn't because they lost interest in the idea. It just became too complicated. And maybe they got stepped on a couple times. If you're in an active market, which it is right now, and I expect it to continue to be, with the exception of maybe a bump or two because of financial situations, over these next several years, it should be an upward market. So in an active market, when you look at a laundry, you have to be able to recognize whether or not that has a path for you quickly. You can't bounce around for 2 weeks. When laundries come available, you've got to be able to be ready to perform quickly. And then you have to know how to investigate. You have to be able to be confident that you're going to be able to investigate the things necessary. What laundry should you stay away from? None of them. Ones that obviously are going to be too small or too big for it. But if it looks like it's going to fit in your budget, you should look at everything to see what kind of path it has. Too many people, take a look at the problems and they don't know how to get it there. The fact is that every store is going to have those same problems to a degree or another. So don't be afraid of the problems. Look for the opportunity. And if you're not going to be able to do that, then you're probably in the wrong business. Nobody should enter this business in any kind of a serious way, expecting they're never going to retool laundry or have to replace equipment or have homeless issues. They have to be ready to accept those challenges. So they have to be prepared within themselves. And that's the biggest mistake that people make. And that's the thing you want to avoid. As I say, get yourself prepared. Understand your financial wherewithal very, very well. Okay, this is a big place. People make mistakes. They bury themselves into something they're not going to be able to perform on. They dance around and waste a lot of people's times while they're looking for money and things like this. And let me tell you, brokers don't have time. A broker is quite different than a consultant. It's a whole different role. People should understand what that is. A broker's not there to cheat you. He's essential. He brings product to market and he guides you through it. And he gets all the information you need. But is he the one that should tell you how to operate the store and how much of an investment you're going to need and what the deferred maintenance is or not? Well, there are some that are capable of it, but whether or not you want to rely entirely on somebody that has that motivation, that's why we don't do the brokerage that we used to. I could easily do both, and be very effective at it, Jordan. Mm-hmm. But don't, because it creates a cloud of doubt in our clients' minds. So we forfeited. So because our credibility is everything. Being trusted is the most important thing to me. So at any rate, prepare yourselves. Get to know about the business and what you have to watch out for. And by all means, go out to every laundry in your area and get to know them. We have a report that is really important to get started with because it gives you all the information you need to get. And you can get more and more each time you visit it. Don't rely on the stores that are on the market only. You need to just get out and look at all the stores and search effectively and then be able to recognize it. Don't get overrun because you're not ready. As brokers, if somebody comes to me and they say, I'd like to, I went over that store you told me about. I really like it. I want to buy it. It's a meaningless statement. If they're not prepared in my eye, I can't sell it to you. Our policy is simple. We only represent our own clients. So if you're going to buy a laundry and we're going to represent you as a buyer, you have to be a consulting client because it's too much for me to tell you. And it's too likely I'm going to tell you stuff that's going to make you change your mind. And as a broker, I can't even afford to do it.
Right.
Broker would, right? It'd be crazy. Yeah. I mean, they're going to tell you they're not going to be dishonest with you, but they're not going to say, well, you got to really watch out for this down the road and stuff. They can only go so far. Mm-hmm. You need to know all these things. So it makes sense to have somebody else on your team in addition to that broker who's bringing you and supplying you. And your broker can help with diligence, but you have to know what to obtain and whether or not you're getting the right information and things like this. You have to understand that during that diligence period, you have to see 10 years, 15 years down the road. People are too short-sighted. That's a problem bigger today than ever. You have to be able to understand this business is sustainable if you make it so. And in order to do that, you've got to be able to look 10 or 15 down the road. What can I expect? What's it going to cost? What will be the benefits? Is it worth it? Back to that old, the scenario that we talked about earlier. You've got to be able to analyze those things as you go through the experience. You've got to know what you're going to do with the store, what it will generate, and that it's going to be sufficient. And you have to know what the costs are. You've got to know what the deferred maintenance is. This is the biggest mistake people make. They don't look at enough. There's many, many things. When you see our diligence list and our upcoming new diligence package that we'll be selling, it is encompassing, and the biggest one person, we have a marketing person that's come on staff, and she's looking at laundries for herself, and she said, I really love this. This is fantastic. I tell this everything, but it scares me. How do I get it? How do I get all that information? Well, we tell you in that package. She just saw a PDF, but in the actual package, it will actually have comment sections and everything else, and we have guidance for it. But we're going to do that another time. But the amount of diligence you need to do is extensive. It doesn't mean you're going to get this guy to correct everything. The seller likely will not correct the majority of what you find, but you need to know you're going to have to.
Yep.
And if it's going to be too significant, you need to take that into consideration in your evaluation. After diligence, there should be a reevaluation based on the facts.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's the way it should be. This is a wonderful business. I love every minute of it. And as you can guess, I could talk about it all long.
You can keep going, which is why I think it's great that, and hopefully we can get Chris to join us too, but we're going to do a webinar. Yeah. And, if you're interested in coming to this webinar, check out laundromatresource.com/events, and that'll be posted there. Chuck, I got a couple questions for you. We have a section called recommended resources, but I want to customize it for you specifically. So first question of recommended resources is, if anybody wants to pick up your book, what's the best way that they can find it? And again, it's called The Laundromat, an American Dream Business and an Entrepreneur's Playground. How can they find that?
Well, we haven't started to promote it yet, but we are starting right now. So it's hard to find through the search engines unless you put in The Laundromat by Chuck Post, and then it'll come up. It's available at Amazon and the other sites. However,
I'll link it too for anybody who wants to buy it.
Yeah, it's best to go to our website and buy it there. We give away a lot of information. We have weekly webinars for especially designed really for the new laundry buyer. We encourage you to come to those. We have them weekly. And if you go to our website, and that is pbilaundry.com. The acronym stands for my old and still existing brokerage business, Post Business Investments. So it's pbilaundry.com. And the book is available there. I think it's $49 or $47 or something like that. And you can sign up for the webinar if you like, and by all means, read some of the things I've written and some of the things that we do. We provide an array of services from 1 hour up to full term. Our most popular program is an acquisition package that does not end until you've actually acquired a laundry. Even if you go off market for a year or two, you can come back and utilize it. And it includes all of the activities around due diligence. There's a kit you need to buy for that that's not too expensive, but it includes the entire thing, no other expenses, and we'll get you there, no matter what it takes. Because once we sign you on, we're dedicated. You can also buy our time in hours if you don't need as much. And we have other packages as well. So by all means, get the book at pbilaundry.com. You can reach me directly at chuck@pbilaundry.com or chris@pbilaundry.com.
Awesome. And I will include links to all of those things. I'll include a direct link to the book. I'll include a link to pbilaundry.com. I'll include your email addresses all on there and everything. So if you want to get a hold of Chuck, you will have the ability to do so. If you want to pick up his book and check it out, it is filled with nuggets of information all throughout. It's like the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow there. And so, you'll be able to grab that. And if you want to check out some of the other kits that they have now and that they're also putting together, there's more kind of coming out.
A big one coming.
Yeah. So you can check that out too.
Yeah. Chuck, we're coming out with a full do-it-yourself kit, which includes all the tools necessary, including the due diligence kit and the model building kit to build your advanced model yourself with all of the guidance necessary as far as how the operations work and how to get information. And then to back it up, that's included. And then we also will be backing that up with our consulting, if you like, as far as guidance into the more specific areas, analysis, and any particular questions that you're not sure how to deal with or want a second opinion on. So I think that package will allow the entrepreneur-minded person who doesn't want to be led to be able to do it himself and still be assured that he's doing it right and getting the right guidance. We've shown this to the lenders; they love it, and it will be I believe a real big thing going forward. This will be the way to get into the business. I think from now on. So we look forward to it. We've got a couple other big things coming that we'll get into in our next conversation too, and. In addition to our kits and that sort of thing.
Awesome. Chuck, this has been incredible. I appreciate you taking the time. I don't know, wherever you're at, where are you at right now?
I'm up in a little town called Iguanga, which is actually off of Highway 79, about 20 minutes from, about a half hour from Temecula. And 45 minutes to Palm Springs. And,
okay. You're local-ish.
And I'm on a big 15 hole golf course, and extremely comfortable, beautiful, beautiful spot to spend. And I'm too far away from anybody to go away and do anything. So it's wonderful to work
relaxing
in this environment.
Well, you know what? You're not too far away to get out of my reach. So I appreciate you spending the last, couple hours or whatever it's been now, hanging out with me, sharing your story, sharing all this wisdom and information. And again, pbilaundry.com. .com, right? And again, all those links will be in the show notes, or if you're on YouTube, they're down below in the description. Chuck, thank you again, man. Can't wait to talk to you soon and looking forward to it.
You bet. Anytime, Jordan. Enjoy it. Thank you. Have a good
day. You too. Bye-bye. All right. I mean, if you made it this far, you maybe had to listen to that thing in chunks, but if you made it this far, you know Chuck knows this stuff, and hopefully you got a lot of really helpful and useful things out of that episode. I'm sure you did. For me personally, remember, man, put this stuff into action. For me personally, one of the quotes that I wrote down, I just wanted to share with you is, owners need to get prepared for a much better future. There's nothing but prosperity ahead. So prepare yourself for a much better future in this industry. Love it, Chuck. Thank you again. Make sure you come join us for the webinar on March 24th. That's 2022 when this is coming out. And if it's past that date, past that time, that webinar and all of our webinars that we've done are available to pro members. So just sign up for a pro account there and go to the Pro Member Hub, and you can get to the webinar archive there and see that webinar and all the other webinars. We have a ton of webinars included there. All right, cool. We will see you guys next week on the podcast for show 89. Peace.